Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Auto Central show powered by AutoTrader, South Africa's #1 motoring podcast, Auto Central. And I have with me in my studio, in our little studio, our big studio. How big is the studio?
I have no idea. I would say big enough.
Big enough. Wandile Sishi in the house.
How are you, George? How are you?
Good on you. Good. And my name is George Mienie, and today we've got a very interesting topic. But before we get there, you'll remind everybody where to find this recording.
Yeah. So you can definitely find us on, naturally we air every Monday at 9 on cliffcentral.co.za.com, but you can also find the vodcasts on YouTube, which is actually my preferred method of watching.
Okay.
But if you are a podcaster or like podcasts, you can also find us on Spotify as well as, I think, iTunes Music.
Yes. So go to autotrader.co.za, or if you want to go via there, or you can go straight to YouTube. Our handle is at AutoTrader SA. You can find the video version of this podcast. So let's get right into it. What's our topic for today?
So it's quite an interesting one, something we haven't actually spoken about. I mean, we've spoken about everything related to EVs, but on that point, what will EVs do to profits for OEMs, auto shops, as well as secondhand auto retailers? I think it's an important question because obviously EV adoption is coming soon, but what's it going to do in the long term for, I guess, profits for all the different stakeholders?
Well, I mean, I suppose over the last month or two, we've been pushing the EV agenda quite hard. We were at Hypermobility, and we're at Hypermobility. We were at Smarter Mobility Conference, and we did the EV buyer survey. If you want to go and check it out at reports.autotrader.co.za, you can go and download it. And we will be at the Hypermobility Conference next week. Next week, yeah. Well, no, this week when this airs. Yes. So, when this goes out, we will be at the Hypermobility Conference during the course of this week. So, if you want to get a ticket, go and Google Hypermobility. What is the URL there?
I think if you just Google Hypermobility, you should definitely find it.
No, it's not the Hypermobility that. Just find the South African one. We'll put it up on social media,
100%.
And go and get a ticket and listen to some more about what the automotive industry is doing. But let's get into your question. What about the EV profit impact on OEMs, auto shops, and secondhand auto retailers? So, I suppose the first thing to talk about is the maintenance cost. Yeah. Moving from a combustion engine vehicle to an electric vehicle, an EV, and we're talking about battery electric vehicles. When I refer to EVs, I don't refer to hybrids, although they are technically partly an EV, half an EV, front or back, I'm not sure. We're talking about battery electric vehicles. I mean, that's the ultimate utopia, right? Yeah. Battery electric vehicles.
Definitely so. And I think it's important to differentiate between the maintenance cost for the consumer and how much, I guess, the profits the auto shop would be making. Yeah. Because I think for the consumer, it's definitely a plus, right? Yeah. There's less parts to service. But for the auto shop, because there's less parts to service, how frequently will people be coming through your door?
It's a good question. And we did some digging, and it turns out that 1/5 of the number of powertrain parts exist in an EV versus an ICE vehicle, with almost entirely eliminating oil.
Yeah.
Which, I suppose goes without saying. Why would you need oil?
No, you don't.
That slippery, black, gooey,
stuff
sticky,
that goes into my car.
Dirty stuff.
Yeah. There's so many different components that are, within an ICE vehicle. And I wouldn't say it's something to be worried of, but if we don't really unpack these sort of questions, it's going to be hard for people to kind of prepare for what happens next. Yeah. Because, there are countries in the world who have completely adopted EVs. Well, not completely, but for a large portion have done so, such as Norway. And they're not having any problems, and I think there's lessons that we can definitely learn from them.
Well, it's adaptation, right? Yeah. I mean, no oil, which means that dealerships that service cars could see a 35% decline in maintenance and service revenue.
Yeah.
What does that equate to? Probably like 20,000 Rand per vehicle over its 5-year period, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, what does it cost today to service a car? A couple of $1,000.
Definitely, depending on what plan you're on.
Yeah. If you're doing 15,000 Ks a year, which is low, you're going to have roughly one service a year. If it's a diesel engine car, definitely one service a year. If you're doing 40,000 kilometers a year, you're going to do 2 maybe services a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big chunk of revenue for dealers to lose.
It is. On top of that is how many people would actually have an EV for them to be having to service, if that makes sense. Because
EVs don't need oil changes.
Exactly. So none. Ultimately, you'll be servicing something completely different.
Yeah. I mean, there's the brakes, right? I mean, you still got to replace the brakes. So
brakes and tires.
Brakes and tires. Yeah. So what is the ultimate impact on brakes?
So I think EV cars don't actually use that, don't use the kind of traditional brakes that we have on an ICE vehicle, because I think EV cars have that regenerative braking.
Yes. So if you haven't driven an EV, when you take your foot off the accelerator, the car uses the electric motors to brake. Yeah. It's quite an awesome experience, actually. You can turn it off, but it's not efficient if you turn it off. So you can feel the car's braking. So you don't have your foot on the brake pedal. And they did a study on a Toyota Prius, which isn't quite a battery electric vehicle. Yeah. It's a hybrid. And had its first set of brake pads replaced at 160,000 kilometers versus a normal ICE vehicle would have done maybe 40 or 50,000 kilometers. So it's 3 times.
That's insane.
So you reduce the brake pad revenue in a dealership or parts department, or even an auto parts shop
by almost 3 times.
By 3 times, a third.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what that's going to do to Ferrodo.
What's going to do to a lot of things? I think these are the sort of questions that nobody really talks about.
Nobody talks about them.
I think it's important.
I mean, it's big, and have companies like Ferrodo thought through this?
Yeah.
Does it mean that brake pad prices just go up? I mean, I don't think so, because it's not going to cost you any more to buy to make an EV brake pad.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same sort of thing. I'm curious to see how we're going to kind of adapt or adopt this sort of tech, because I wouldn't say it's scary. I think I don't have enough information for me.
I think it's exciting. Come on, it's not scary. There's nothing scary about it. But apparently EVs eat tires faster than an ICE vehicle, right?
That's one of the industries that are potentially going to see a huge benefit. Explosion out of EVs, is the fact that they just completely destroy tires.
I'd like the way you talk in big absolutes and huge explosion in tires. I hope Continental is listening, because the Continental in the Eastern Cape, huge explosion in tires.
I mean, don't quote me on that.
But why though? Because it's just so fast.
EV cars are heavy. One. Okay. So they just put so much strain on tires versus a traditional ICE vehicle.
Let's talk about that heaviness for a second, because I didn't think about that. So an ICE vehicle weighs let's see.
Let's take let's say like an I-Pace versus I don't know, like an X1.
So an average ICE vehicle, probably about 800 kilos seems to be.
Okay.
That seems to be the. Oh no! Sorry, 800 kilos less than the heaviest EV. Okay. So that doesn't tell me the weight of an EV. I know these things are heavy.
Yeah. No. So when I was digging into this, one of the things that they said the most was the fact that your tires, because the vehicle is so heavy, it just destroys them.
Well, I know it's so the model, the Tesla Model 3 has a weight of about 1,600 kilograms. It's 1.6 tons.
Yeah. It's not significantly higher. I mean, that's
let's do the weight of a Mazda 3, because that seems to be like an equal car, 1,200 kilograms. So it's only 100 kilograms.
It adds up.
Better.
Yeah, it definitely adds up. And also another thing is the fact that if you, it
300.
seems
So sorry, it's about 400
400
kilos, and if you go for the dual motor, it's 1,800 kilos. So there is looks like about a 20-30% increase in weight of the car itself, which has to have an impact on tires.
100%.
Sorry, you were saying.
So I wouldn't say it's like, okay, once again, I'm going to go back. Not a massive explosion for Continental.
No, but there may be, because this is only one part of the equation, right? So the weight is going to cause tire wear.
Definitely.
Another thing that's going to cause it is EVs are going to last longer.
Definitely.
At the moment, people replace their cars every 3 to 5 years
on average.
on average, and then they go into the secondhand market, and maybe the car lasts longer.
Yeah.
But the consumer changes hands. But the EV is potentially going to last a lot longer in the consumer's hands, which means more tire changes.
Definitely. I mean, EV cars, it's not the same as when, like, the technology in an EV car can be updated quite frequently and over the airways. So the necessity for you to try and get a car that's a little bit more, I guess, newer is going to be far less.
For a consumer. But from this dealer question, dealers, let's be honest, the dealerships have lost tires to the likes of Tiger Wheel and Tire and HiQ and those guys. Okay, those guys have done a good job to take tires away from car dealerships. I mean, car dealerships have tire equipment. They traditionally 10-15 years ago, they did tire changes.
I did not know that. I've never ever actually gone to a dealership to change my tire. It's always like a Tiger Wheel or
exactly. So I think dealerships can get tires back when we go to EVs. Like, replace what you're going to lose in oil changes with tire changes. Why not?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
It's a possibility. I'm sure these are things that they'll definitely be asking themselves. But pivoting from, we're just talking about dealerships now. What about the profits for OEMs and dealerships?
Well, let's just pause on. Sorry, but I'm interested to get to the profit question. But another thing on tires, which is to your explosion point, is EVs are a lot faster. They've got immediate torque on the ground.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a lot more strain on the takeoffs.
So on takeoff.
You're just gonna be having me this entire episode.
I mean, EVs are like airplanes. They're fast. Anyway, they're faster.
Yeah.
So I mean, what happens when a car's fast?
Well, it's obviously the tires are rotating a lot quicker, or doing more rotations rather. So just if you look at the science behind that, naturally you're going to be eating up a little bit more tires.
Well, they're doing a lot more rotation a lot quicker.
Yeah. And then because you're going a lot quicker, naturally you're going to be braking a little bit more as well, which is going to put additional strain. So I think it's just kind of the speed impacting the overall performance of the tire over time. It's nowhere near going to be the same. It's like the equivalent of an M3 versus a 3 Series.
Well, there's some research in America where a Tesla owner replaced his tires after 16,000 kilometers.
Yeah,
I mean that's probably about 1/3 of the distance you can get out of a set of tires on a Mazda 3, for instance.
Yeah. If you're going to be thinking about buying an EV, this is definitely a consideration that you should have. And for OEMs and I guess dealerships and auto stores and Tiger Wheel and them, this is a huge plus. Well,
let's get on to your question about the impact on dealer and OEM profits. I mean, we spoke a little bit about the losing revenue when it comes to oil changes. But what about OEM and dealer profits? Because one of the things is profits are going to go up if OEMs adopt it in South Africa, because there won't be any emissions tax.
Well, it depends when they adopt. I think if they had to do it now, definitely yes. But over time, that's kind of the point where I'm going to be interested. If people are buying cars less frequently once EVs come to the party, what is that going to mean for their overall profit margins at the end of the year?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that yet, but I mean, there's been lots of studies kind of watching how it's happening around the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's quite interesting. And the fact that OEMs are developing new cars and pushing this tells me that it's not really.
Well, I suppose when it comes to profit margins on EVs are still too costly. For the consumer. So if we can bring that cost down by reducing tax, like import
like we've
tax,
been saying,
or even incentivizing a local manufacturer. There could, there's the profit margin for the OEM because, the 25% off the car that might not mean a bad thing for the OEM. They'd still, be able to make a margin on it. But battery costs are falling. And I would imagine when the secondhand EV market comes around, there's going to be a market in dealerships for
just
battery replacement.
Yeah.
And if we look at battery costs, are falling on average by about 22% per annum, which is in a Bloomberg New Energy Finance study. And it cost 283 Rand per kilowatt hour in 2018, and by 2024 is expected to have fallen to 151 Rand per kilowatt hour. So, I think there's a potential market there as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are OEMs out there who are winning off of EVs. The big one is Tesla, obviously. As soon as the demand comes up, those sort of costs and the profit margin increases. So that's kind of the challenge now. I don't think OEMs should be scared that they're going to lose profits. I think they should be more worried about getting the adoption and the demand up. Yeah, because that's when those sort of thoughts and those sort of problems evaporate.
Well, you wanna win a large chunk of the market as an OEM, right?
Of course.
Because otherwise you're not in the game.
Yeah.
And I suppose right now it's about getting in the game and remaining in the game.
Yeah.
Because if Tesla does take over the world when it comes to EVs, they'll become the number one selling EV on the planet.
Yeah.
Which then relegates, the top kind of OEMs right now to second, third, and fourth.
And that's the thing, right? Like, I don't think the conversation is, should I go ICE or should I go EV for an OEM? It's coming. You have to go.
No, I think they've made that kind of like, I think, mental shift already.
Exactly. So the quicker you can do it and the better you can sort of get the demand for your brand up from the consumer's point of view.
Yeah.
Is going to help in sustaining your entire business. So I think that's the big sort of push that we should be having.
Well, experts, the clever people, they expect the sales of EVs to overtake ICE vehicle sales within the next 3 decades. That's around the corner.
It is.
I'll still be alive, hopefully.
Me too. Also, hopefully.
You definitely will be alive.
We'll see. Challenge accepted.
All right. Well, let's talk about a very fast, very much still an ICE vehicle.
Yeah.
And we're going to get our expert, Martin Pretorius, our expert journalist Martin Pretorius, on the line on video in a second, and we're going to talk about this BMW M8 Competition coupe, which Martin drove. So let's just get Martin up. And Martin is here. So welcome, Martin. And where are you today?
Hello, George. Hello, Wandy. It's nice to be back. Yeah, I'm at a friend's house because the internet, the fiber, and the Wi-Fi, everything at my house is dead.
Oh,
so
you got power problems?
Big plan. Sorry?
You've got power problems?
No, apparently someone stole the batteries from the MTN tower, so nothing works.
Man, that's unfortunate.
I wonder if they're going to try to steal batteries out of EVs.
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, what happens next? Is that the final frontier?
Angle grinder.
Oh, man.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about batteries and stealing of batteries. We've got Martin up, as we said just now, to talk about the BMW M8 Competition coupe. First question, Martin, is this the ultimate BMW?
Say yes.
Well, some purists might not agree. They'd say it's too big and it's too heavy and everything.
What is a purist?
But I think this is the ultimate BMW you can buy at this moment.
Yes, I knew it. I'm okay. I was about a fan out
One
there.
is a big fan.
But I've been saying it.
I think it's the best car that BMW M has made in many, many years.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait to show this to my friends because I've been in serious arguments with them, and now, an expert has said so. So yes.
Well.
Has BMW polarized car fans with its change in design language? I mean, BMW is known for changing and facelifting cars quite a lot, but they don't change the look fundamentally too much. But have they done with this with this car?
Well, this car still escapes the electric razor look that they're trying to impose on on so many of the new cars, and it doesn't have the gigantic kidneys either.
Yeah,
it's like an intermediate stage. So the kidneys are wider than they were before, and they're larger certainly, but they're nowhere near as offensive. But this M8 Coupe drew so much attention when I was driving it. Literally everywhere I went, people were taking photos, wanting to pose with the car, asking about it. Everybody, I got hoots of approval from random passers-by in traffic.
Well, it looks like a 4-door 6 series, right?
No, it's a 2-door. It's a proper.
Is it a proper coupe?
Yeah. I mean, look, BMW is the most popular brand in South Africa.
But then is the Grand Coupe the 4-door?
Yeah.
The Grand Coupe is the 4-door. And that's the one you want if you have to carry a family and luggage as well.
So you drove the 2-door coupe?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Any difference between the 4-door and the 2-door in terms of speed, luxury?
Nope. They're both, they're all. There's a 4-door Grand Coupe, then there's a 2-door Coupe I drove, and then you can have it with a cabriolet as well. So
but it still looks a little bit like a 6 Series.
Yeah, I think
it still looks a lot like a 6 Series, but it has a lot more presence than the 6 Series ever had. In the metal, it is a very, very imposing thing, and I think a lot of that comes from the width.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super wide.
It's a super wide car.
What does this thing cost?
With some change, 3.3 million rand plus options.
But I have seen on AutoTrader there's 4 pretty much fully spec'd M8 competitions on the side for under 3 million. So I mean, if you are trying to get a steal, this car secondhand, I think, is a great option.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it is. But even as it is new, it comes very, very well spec'd. Unlike most German cars, you don't have to tick a whole bunch of option boxes to make it work, to get the best experience. You can buy it as is and still get the full fat experience, because most of the nice things are standard in any case.
So, I mean, BMW is known for really having a beautiful interior. Does this M8 kind of tick those boxes?
And then some, George, and then some. It's like walking into a very classy upmarket nightclub, and then you find wingback chairs and lots of leather and wood and stuff everywhere else as well.
Like you walked into a golf club.
It's truly, truly opulent, and things like the configurable mood lighting and the big touchscreen displays and lots and lots and lots and lots of shining buttons makes it feel like you're actually getting what you paid 3.3 million rand for.
Oh, wow. Who's the competitors then? Sounds like this guy doesn't have any competitors.
Well, on the one side, you have the Mercedes AMG S63, which has similar performance, but it costs a little bit more. If you're looking at an M5 Competition Grand Coupe, the 4-door one, you can also have a Mercedes AMG GT63S, which has slightly more power, but it doesn't use it as effectively. And then, well, the real competition for this car, and that's why it's actually a bit of a bargain given its context, things like the Bentley Continental GT and the Aston Martin DB11.
Well, now we're talking about a series, like a big category.
Yes, it really plays in that league.
It does.
It has absolute supercar performance. BMW quotes 3.2 seconds to 100. This particular car has been tested at Geratech for doing it even quicker than that. It's also been tested at a quarter mile in low 11 seconds and well past 200 kilometers an hour, over 402 meters. That is staggering performance. And it makes it also easy to achieve. So this car really competes with the Grand Tourers like the Bentley Continental and the likes.
Well, that's impressive, Wandile. I mean, you're a BMW fan. So thank you, Martin. Appreciate the analysis of the BMW M8 Competition Coupe and your score out of 10.
10.
10. That's the first 10 we've got.
That's the first 10, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the first 10 we've got. Look, it's an expensive car, but when you drive it and when you look at it and when you touch it and feel it and everything, you can see why it costs that much.
Wow.
And when you look at its competitors, it looks like a bargain. Hence, it gets the 10 out of 10 stamp from our side.
Well, that is it, Martin. Thank you very much for joining us. Our very own Martin Pretorius telling us about the competition M8.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Martin. Bye-bye.
Martin.
So there you have it.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, the first one we've ever had. And I just want to say I told you so to everyone who said no. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. I mean, a lot of people have been saying that the M3 is more of an M car, but I think this is the ultimate BMW. It's the ultimate expression of it.
The ultimate BMW from Wandile.
The ultimate. I think it's the last one for a while. If you're a traditional BMW fan, that we'll be seeing. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. All right. So it's time for us to get into our Ask AutoTrader piece, Wandile. And every day people send AutoTrader some motoring related questions about all things car buying, selling, driving, whatever your question is. So Wandile, what are some of the burning questions that we've come across in the...
So 3 questions this week. The first one is from Tisetso, and she asked, will a modification such as a downpipe void a Volkswagen maintenance motor plan? Good question.
Why would you want to put a gutter?
It's not a gutter. It sounds better.
A downpipe.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
A downpipe.
Yeah. I'm a fan of downpipes personally, but I think it's not just Volkswagen. I think, can you answer for all sort of brands?
All brands, yeah. Okay, so more seriously, downpipe. So unfortunately, the terms and conditions of the maintenance plan clearly stipulate on all cars, as a matter of fact, that any mods that you do will immediately render the maintenance plan and warranty void.
Yeah.
In other words, the answer is no. They will be cancelled. You can't even reverse that. So if you do it, it will be cancelled and it's unreversible. So don't modify your car. I know there are those petrol heads out there like modifying cars, but do it when it's past its warranty, or be okay with not having a maintenance and warranty plan.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. Is be okay with it, because anything you do to it.
Manufacturers spend large amounts of money designing these cars.
Researching.
They're not expensive for no reason.
Yeah. And researching what's the best sort of performance.
They put them in wind tunnels. They, like modifications to an exhaust can have serious consequences to the heat in the engine bay.
Yeah. And the efficiency of how it's just running in general.
I mean, some manufacturers even get this wrong. And if you rev your car too much standing still, you might just set it alight.
Yeah. Let's not
do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or reference anything that we've seen, maybe.
Well, no, that was the driver's fault. No, anyway, moving on to the next question. What's the next? So the answer is no. You'll void the warranty and service plan. What's the next question there?
So the next question is from Limited Edition 272, and they ask, do you sell parts? And specifically, they're looking for a new engine for a Mitsubishi Colt.
Does AutoTrader sell parts? Well, the answer, Limited Edition 272, is no. We don't sell parts, unfortunately. And do we know the price of a V6 3-litre Mitsubishi Colt complete engine? Unfortunately, no. But
quick Google search will just...
Yeah, just do a Google search. You'll probably find, phone up the OEM. They might be able to put you in touch with somebody. Okay, and last but not least.
Last question is from Jack. And Jack's a first-time buyer. And they're essentially interested in a few cars for the price under 180,000 Rand. They have a few options. The first one being the Peugeot 208, second the Polo Vivo, then the Opel Corsa, and lastly the Renault Sandero. And Jack just wants to know what's the best to pick out of those few options.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The most popular car on that list is the Polo Vivo.
100%.
So start out there. The Polo Vivo is the most popular car. However, Given that it's your first time buy, you're probably young, and I would not recommend the Polo Vivo at this stage because your insurance costs are going to be higher because it's a high risk car. So probably the Renault Sandero.
Just based on insurance costs.
Well, yeah, if that's important to you, then the monthly insurance cost, needs to be taken into account, and then also a high risk vehicle of the Polo Vivo. So, that you need to, you need to answer for yourself. So, if you can fit this financial burden and you're willing to take the risk of the Polo Vivo is, top car. It's
a great car.
It's a brilliant car. And, Peugeot and Opel offer good cars as well. But the long-term ownership costs and depreciation may just, kind
of knock you there.
May just knock you there. So you just got to do the maths and, so we recommend potentially the Renault Sandero. And that's all we have time for.
Oh, man. Another episode.
Gone.
In a flash.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for Auto Central for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. The discussion around EV cost and the impact to profits on OEMs and dealers and the industry, as well as the BMW M8 Coupe, which Wandile lights up when I say those words, and then a couple of Ask AutoTrader questions. And see you next time. That's Wandile, Sishi, and George Mienie for Auto Central. Cheers for now.